expanding, backslid, planning to have it, so I will go after it, and I'ma stay after it. I'm gon' fucking master it, put them on blast it, they will never last it. Don't be so dramatic, not my demographic. This shit is democratic, they phone effects, yeah, bitch.
About what they are as a duo. They had a
I got the cash in the bag, stadium packed. Born a rock star in this life, gon' live it up on the attack. Baby, I'm bad, I just wanna get caught up in this life. I'm crazy, I'm mad, doing no cap. Only God wants you, better go live it up. Cash in the bag, stadium packed. Baby, I'm bad,
Yeah.
baby, I'm bad.
I just wanna stay bad, stay mad. Chip on my shoulder cause they treat me like an outcast. I ain't gonna take that, stay back. I'll be swinging hard till the hits come in all caps. I ain't gonna lay back, pray that someone's gonna help me. Ain't nobody like that. I ain't gonna wait, that's all fact. Give me one shot and I'll never get the throne back. I'm sick of being cautious, I'ma go cause some pain, can't stop this. I'ma steal everybody's name, call it shoplift. Sick of hearing everyone complain when they thoughtless. Taste the pain, it's like candy canes. It makes me go change into a better frame, into a better name. Society's insane, we all live for fame, yeah. Cash in the bag, stadium packed. Born a rock star in this life, gon' live it up on the attack. Baby, I'm bad, I just wanna get caught up in this life. I'm crazy, I'm mad, do it no cap. Only God wants you, better go live it up. Cash in the bag, stadium packed. Baby, I'm bad, baby, I'm bad. I got cash in the bag, stadium packed. Born a rock star in this life, gon' live it up.
Yesterday, and Taysom on Twitter saying, look, we shouldn't be struggling with Surge, acknowledging that there's going to be a lot of pressure on them because they're two of the best players you've ever had in Fortnite. And yeah, they came top 10 after day one, but many people would argue, you have the best loot in the game. We expect more than top 10 for you guys. So they'll have that pressure, but if there's anyone who could deal with it, I'm sure it's Taysom and Thomas.
Yeah, I mean, they are the day two de facto duo, I feel like. Every FNCS we've seen, Thomas HD just absolutely becomes super online, like gigabit speeds on that second day. So I feel like they have a little bit of a pedestal from that first one. Talk about a pedestal, a tower, a spot that should just be etched on the map now for following FNCS. Pink's Cavern, I feel like, is what it should be called, or Pink's Mountain, maybe. Him and Anas are just up here 24/7, dictating who can move where inside the whole lobby. They are like, you know, just guards, making sure that there's a cost to every decision you make, Levin. And they've had so much good surge from it, so much good positions overall, too. Looks like they got zone as well. This might be their game.
Yeah, when you look back at their games yesterday, they could have had an even better day, right? There were a couple games where they were set up to really do what they do best and dominate high ground. And, you know, as much as I don't like to blame things on RNG, there were a couple instances where they did genuinely just get a bit unlucky, right? And so you like to think if it balances out today, these guys could have a monster day. People question Shire whether they'd be able to handle high ground with all the other top high ground teams in the lobby. That was not even a question for them. They definitely are ready.
Yeah, the answer was 2 victory royales. No one right now in EU is catching up to that standard, and it was one that was from this zone specifically that they rolled in and won the entire game. It almost looks like a little bit of a mimic where it started kind of near Cavern, then pulled down a little bit overall. So I want to see if they can do that once more. Vito and Joe, though, we talked about them a little bit. They're going to be inside the storm currently. Still a long ways to go. We saw the pattern like this also develop for a lot of teams, Levin. Kind of moving late, being behind. They start to, I don't know, maybe stack up their decisions a bit too much and it becomes overwhelming. Over here, if you make a mistake, it can just cost you your game.
Yeah, for sure. They're deep in the storm. And again, when we talk about timing in your games, that's one of the things that can sort of throw things off. It'll be fun to see how they play out. I don't think many people expected them to do as well out sleepy as they did. But Vino's no stranger to proving people wrong, and I'm sure he'll try to do that again by pushing his way into that top 10.
Right now, I believe everyone's just searching to get towards that top 35 slot. That's exactly where placement starts, just 1 point. But at the same time, you can see teams like Rise and Phoenix, like Cassia, Vertexia, pushing for those eliminations as well. 3 points per. It makes the format a little bit more favoring to those aggressive teams, the ones who are popping off in low ground. While you guys are watching all these high teams, you know, go for the win. There will be many stories also happening in those underground boxes back and forth. That 8 ELM games, I feel like, start from the dirt towards these end games, but on this second zone level, many opportunities, a balance of both water and lots of hills on the land, but it's not too crazy like the Cavern or the Lumberyard, right? With this zone, there's a lot more flexibility for many players. I feel like that's both a good thing in a battle.
Yeah, I think it very much means we're going to have one of the situations we felt like we were having a lot yesterday, where you have these games that maybe these teams you weren't expecting to do as well are just because the zone sort of gives them that advantage. Wow.
Maybe it's overstimulation. Remember, big default, 3 teams every game, plus they're here right now. I feel like the arms will just be on fire and they have the most practice compared to everyone else in the lobby.
Yeah, these guys really don't play around when it comes to the eliminations. Very much looking to take advantage of the fact that you get free power. And the next 6 weeks, Shire are very much to many, including myself, a surprise team. Almost came out of nowhere, right? Like a snake in the grass, but to be fair, I mean, they have all the experience in the world.
Let's say how we say, right? We roasted them for weeks. We legitimately roasted them for weeks because we expected so much more. It's NLX S-Weeks. NLX was like the, I don't know, the guinea pig child of every region. Everyone just realized how good he was for like, I don't know, 3 months, and everyone was watching his cash cuts, his FNCSs, how he approaches the game, how he approaches, you know, being a teammate inside his trio back last year. Now I think the transition was just a little bit tough overall. Maybe switching modes, but they've really found their groove on day 1.
Yeah, this is one of the few teams that have really been playing with each other, and so they've had to fight through adversity on many occasions, right? There's not many people in Fortnite that they can say they've been doing or playing with someone since 2020. We've been lasting for a couple months, right? We don't even go back that far, so these guys have been through it with each other, and they'll continue to go through it with each other. But this is a fight that makes me get really excited. Thomas and Tayson versus Link and Default.
Why is this fight happening? It's Storm Surge right now. It basically dictates, you know, you have to do damage, or the server will start doing damage to you. It makes every single person on the map get active, and right now Tayson and Thomas have not done enough damage. Maybe they were prioritizing position, looted, not really looking at other teams. As a result, they're 111 damage below every other team on the map right now, under that threshold. They have to really be forcing this fight. Now that lightning will start to strike. 25 damage, I believe, every 5 seconds. Tayson really needs to start pushing in and maybe getting some work on Thomas up top. Will have to go through a shield reserves. The other players can't actually hear the noise or see visually that lightning striking. That's just us right now on broadcast. That being said, if their shield does crack, we can will hear that, and now boxes will be open walls. Gonna be basically transparency.
I'll lose my shit and go crazy when I'm mad. And now you don't wish you was just a fuck up real fast.
Back down very fast. 200 above. That's what it's about.
And now that I'm gone, I know this whole turn is back.
I'ma poke a hole through you, joking's overdue. Come at me and you won't get any older, dude. Crack your holder too. Heating up inside of me, blood so violently. Thanks for trying me. Now it's finally time to see how this rivalry becomes a dynasty.
Asking. There's a certain player count that needs to be achieved by the lobby. This first iteration that we just saw, it's 70. So now with 69 players live, it's gonna just burn off. In a few more zones, it'll be back up, and the server will require 50 players to be up and alive. So right now, there's 19 more than that is needed. And Deox and Wallflart know that. They know, with EU being this stacked, with Day 2 coming in 11, there's just no way that players are going to slow down and not, go down at all. It's going to be tough for them to get this damage.
Even though it's turned off, they know they will need to do more damage, otherwise they'll run into more issues later on. And it gets more difficult to deal with it later on, where everybody in the lobby is more congested together. There's less opportunities. We've seen a replay from Rescon and Scram, really in the thick of it. This is what can happen, the chaos that ensues when teams are fighting for Surge. Stormy right wasn't able to escape it, and he will go down. This is the kind of thing that happens, Shia.
So that's a content scene as well. Just imagine, you're rolling on the day, you have the gameplay, you're actually Stormy right as well. Their plans are just amazing. They just seem so dynamic. They're going down to the bench. If that team is going to be unable to struggle inside a lot of these situations where there's so many boxes around, I wonder what things look like for Link to Default on your screen, for Jason and Thomas. On the map right now, everyone just waiting. Just one AR is shooting on the map at the moment. Everyone else is focused on that rotation. And they pop the peppers, they start to do that, gives you a huge speed boost. And they're off on the ways. No one's even looking at them, almost in zone. So close to being flawless. Link makes it in though, and Default's beside it. That used to be the trickiest thing for this duo. Getting in unscathed and not getting the competition interrupted by that movement, but they just overcome that hurdle.
They're actually in a pretty decent position. I think they wanted to maybe get a bit further in on a bit of a higher elevation on the hill. But where they are at, you're right, they'll be able to hold some of the teams behind them trying to get their way in as well. And that extra damage will do wonders for them. And that's the thing now, and that's the only player with a finals VR in all 4 years of FMCS history. Look, there's so many great things I can say about this player. Truly is somebody who I feel is underappreciated. One of the greats.
He's a great of the lobby as well, while everyone else is looking from the bottom up, looking to fix mistakes. Pink and Anas, I feel like one of 2 duels right now next to Goals and Clown who don't want to switch anything up. We're on top of that ladder of chaos, looking down at all the destruction. They're in first place and they want to stay there.
Everybody on the top got the same sound. Everything I'm about to drop, make a name now. Yeah, y'all don't really know, y'all don't really know. Y'all don't really know, y'all don't really know. Yeah, I ain't never gonna be the same now. I'ma tear up this whole fucking game now. Yeah, y'all don't really know, y'all don't really know. Y'all don't really know, y'all don't really know. Got so many thoughts, got a kamikaze. Ain't nobody ever gonna ever stop me. And I know that I could be a little cocky. That's the byproduct of hard work. No, it's not free. I'm at a top speed. I think you lost me. Do not cross me. I can't drop this. All these hits and I know that they watching. They keep showing up in my place, always knocking. Knock, bitch, I've been sitting right here. Been over 3 years and then you just got here. Man, get me a beer and open up the mirrors. Let me show you now what you've been missing for years. Got the premiere. Why you think the boy's name is here? Or take it up to here and end your career and make you feel fear. Or
Very nice,
make
gonna
you
refresh with that. Now he's in perspective of a situation like that. Wallflart by himself. So down on Surge, 248 below. One player only has around 200 HP. And a lot of the players around him are low.
Yeah, I ain't never gonna be the same now. I'ma tear up this whole fucking game now. Yeah, y'all don't really know, y'all don't really know. Y'all don't really know, y'all don't really know. I'm in a rap, yeah, now Snapchat, like a girl's back, get a clap, clap, like it in snatch. Shot it like a quick snap, like it when I'm up in there. I'm in the winning like I win stacks. Every single that I'm in, man, it's spit back. These haters all get whacked when I spit back. These haters all get big when I kick back. You better get cracked, so you better move back. I'm gonna play with the pro rocks today. I'ma make you wish you were gone in my head. You gon' be my bitch, be my palm when I play. You gon' be my bitch, take a palm to the face. You don't want me bitch, but I'm on the stage. You ain't never gonna get me to be tamed. I don't say you can't detain this speech. Oh, when I came to stay, girl, I came to play. Everybody on the top got the same sound. Everything I'm about to try to make a name now. Yeah, y'all don't really know, y'all don't really know. Y'all don't really know, y'all don't really know. Yeah, I ain't never gonna be the same now. I'ma tear up this whole fucking game now. Yeah, y'all don't really know, y'all don't really know. Y'all don't really know, y'all don't really know.
Out the realms of possibility for him. The gauntlets will give him a couple extra charges to move once his own start moving. But if anybody figures out that this guy is a solo, you can be assured that his time in the lobby will not last.
So enigmatic and charismatic. Gotta live static, gotta get at it. Never pragmatic, cause we live tragic. I can't live average to be alive magic. Turn it up in the back, this is rabbit. Everything I want, get in my way and I'm savage. I'll be moving crowds till I'm 6 feet napping. Making another bitch hooked on like an addict. I got my eyes on the prize and it's shit loud. I wanna live till I die, make a difference right. I wanna give those in need a reason to fight. I wanna live every day like it's my last night. I wanna change how we play the game. Rearrange all the pieces till they get my name. Pushing the gang down, dance to what they say. I wanna stand up and start a revolution.
I wanna start a revolution. I wanna start a revolution.
That water though will stay on land. Can't really find anything in terms of a pattern. Anything towards that backside. He's really taking this ocean. It's a high for launch pad, but you need HP to be able to jump from it. Like, unfortunate. I like this position. They could have aimed to get towards that spot, but it was just so far off. One of the negatives of being on low ground overall. Meanwhile, DKS and both just have no other options. So Max, he'll be alive with his. See what he can do, bigger than us. Set up a position. Only a few solo right now.
Break down, you can never break me. I won't stay down, pushing till I'm daisy. I'm on top now while we kissing babies. Calling out president, boss don't hate me. I'ma trust my gut, you don't phase me. I'ma get my blood, don't save me. Damn it, stand for enough, still chasing. Every single dream that I passed, I was 18.
Different question, but can you know enough to hold on to? You can see Actor isn't looking too strong in terms of HP, and the materials are starting to dwindle as well.
XP's moving in, and Lex not alive either. Every single person who looks like inside the top 5 has to play as a solo to keep their position on the boards. Alive, meanwhile, no alive. Swinging over towards the front, fighting Judo and Pico. He's going to let that screen. Who's it though? Sneaks that high ground with 2 subdues. He's inside the box with O'Reilly. He takes Noah almost down. Has a hero of HP, and it gets snipped. A nice fade up and out. Right below that process to here. His teammate go down. Elin and gone. He's going to be by himself.
You see XP's as well now, one of those solos. Him and DKS are both struggling, but DKS was able to find an elimination on the backside in the bottom right. And so this is neutral that keeps him taking in the game just that bit longer. That's exactly what he needs. He can't go for the win right now, but all he needs is the extra clincher points. They go a long way when we go to the last game, and so he will just continue to stay alive.
DKS takes down first place and he's in second, or maybe just chops it in half. Maybe Pink has to possibly go for that clutch as well to keep that slot up top. Gucci Gattuso on that top side. They're going to be looking down momentarily for some sprays for that pressure. We saw this on day one. No one was able to really retake on high ground except for Haiti very last game. And Tripper for the first can have a possibility that goes down as well below. But once he gets DKS though, to the top. All he has to do is stay on his wall, make sure nothing bad happens.
Never forget what it's like to be in that bitch. Stabbed in the back bed, I'll show you what happens. Pass me the mic and I'll show you with action.
Now we have Scram, no ref scar. Saw this many times before, and we can expect greatness with 13 HP though. We can't have that Scram class with dipping in and outside that zone. Really playing the timing here as well, a player who can do it so well. He's not gonna have the possibility. Here goes Volky for high ground. He's future. It's a retake. It's just himself. I don't see Clement. Where is he? He's not gonna fall. There's such simple tricks. He keeps the high ground secure and alive.
Yeah, they did incredibly well to stay composed. He was no real threat, and then treated it that way. Scrambler as a solo will eventually find his maker, and he will go out. True execution, what they only do now in between high ground and low ground of Janice and Vortex, to try and reclaim their first game success.
Every single team is sharing the same two boxes, the Vortex and Janice. If we have those guys in the equation, they just solve that problem with 2 shots and a big pop. That's what I like to see. Vortex with the spray, Janice did the follow-up, and now they control that little bit of the low ground there. Still, Andy in the way with art skill as well. 2 solos in the mix, Swag and Pablo. Their maps are running out. High ground is still staying quiet. Music have to do absolutely nothing to win this game. Pablo has so much ammunition. There's the 3 max still. He's gonna go for the end of Chulex. That's a double shot. It looks good. He's down. Chico is in the next one. Surprised after that jump scare. Pablo might go for the reload. There's no chance for that revival. Chico's just a dodge towards the right side. Pablo moving through this labyrinth. Can he solve this maze? Art still on the retake that Juice has to deal with. And they're not even running out of the mats. I'm not sure what type of treasury, what type of economy this entire duo has, but it's gonna be still half what a shot from Juice catches the head. His man only hits the most fire speed shots he can find, and it's lucky that he hit all the mats as well. Corner for Fusion, he's gonna be the focus. Chucked down now, but the ball goes back and forth. The fire's too hot. Juice might not be able to survive. He gets burned, and he's down. We have new high ground king.
Cerebral play from the Danes, and they are on fire. Swag and Pablo will drop down now to try and claim the first victory royale of the day. Swag will go down, and so it's left in the hands of Pablo. They've done so well so far, and now in a 1v1 against Janice, who won against Vortex. Janice and Vortex in a 2v1. Vortex is up, but with not much HP. Will he be the difference maker? Will he decide to go up and try and take Pablo on?
I ain't even playing, got a really bad habit.
He doesn't have the materials that he's dancing around in the zone. He realizes he can get Vortex. That's going to be the siphon that will come through, but will it come in time? 10 seconds, he will get it. So he stays up, and now can he get the crucial last shot? No! Janice will pick it up. They won game 1 of day 1, and they win game 1 of day 2. The German Giants come through again.
I can't believe it, it's deja vu. And in a way, that's more special than that first day as well. Janice and Vortex, this is not a position where they usually win games. There's a little bit more sense of control overall. But Janice, the clutch of the first is in there. It's that big shot. And that's the third one we saw. I think that's 2-1. We'll start off with you.
Only I can make a change, slowly take a step today. I will never be the same, 'cause that's what it takes.
Guys, back to getting early, get their victory royale done quick and easy. Guys, tell me on the desk, how did that all break down? There was so much going on, so many of the top duos playing this solo. Break it all down for us, guys.
Shia Wager and Levin, thank you guys so much. Game number 1 or 7 in the grand scheme of things is done. My goodness.
I feel like every time we get deeper into games, I always see these guys just ending up in these situations where they're just not able to be as effective in tight spaces. Right? They're still top players. I'm not gonna act like they're like old or anything, but you know, they're not back in their prime a couple of years ago where put them in the most difficult, tightest of spaces and they excel. They still do need a bit of space to operate.
I like the fact that you're mentioning celebration and then now no longer being in your prime. That birthday for you getting different today, eh?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You're getting a little bit older. And, you know, what's your celebration today, Levin? What are you doing on your glorious 20th birthday?
I am enjoying the best Fortnite players in the world show what they can do. And it's funny that, you know, as we start talking about this, the best Fortnite players in the world are on our screens, facing the top.
I'll allow it because it's your special day, alright? I'll allow it for one time.
But I think the big question around these guys is going to just be, are these guys still the best Fortnite players in the world? At any given moment in the past 2 years, really, if you ask somebody, who do you think is the best Fortnite player in the world? There's a good chance they're going to say Tayson or Thomas. This season, that hasn't always been the case. And so this is going to be their chance, to prove that they are still in that upper echelon of Fortnite players.
10th overall, this is the day that we expect them to do good, and they kind of have to because, once again, there is no day number 3. Lincoln defaults. Chonker Speedway rolling in. This is going to be tough overall. I mean, they're not even at that desert POI. And they're still making this duo cry.
Yeah, Swilliam and Lecce can't catch a break. Cannot catch a break. Like every time Link gets an elimination, he just goes for the dance. Like he looks to emote. So some of the stuff he's got in that locker of his. Some impressive stuff. Thank you as well to production for the birthday message. Appreciate it, guys. I completely you missed it, bro. I'm just looking at the fight. I'm so sorry. No, we good. They work hard in the back and showing some love. I appreciate that.
I want to get a little bit of your bias here, right? If there's a present we could give you in terms of one duo just winning, is it Taysom and Thomas? Or is it your prediction? What does Levin's heart truly say? Expose yourself.
My heart wants...
What does your body want? What does your heart want?
My body wants Taysom and Thomas to win. I don't know, man. I love Taysom, you know? I love Taysom. Lovely family as well. Mum and Dad wish me happy birthday, so, you know, big up them. Yeah.
Nice. I think Anas and Pink got the opposite end of a present when it comes to game number 1, losing that first place title, but they're not too far behind when it comes to trying to catch up. We'll see if it's possible. 171 overall inside second place. They have to catch up just a little bit. 174, 3-point difference overall for the duo. This is looking kind of tough though. I haven't seen Pink take this much damage starting off a fight.
Yeah, they gotta stay cool in this situation. Pink especially, you can see he's just stuck up against this mountain. There's not much room for him to operate in. And Nas does really well to get Vortexia down. And so Cast3 now in a 1v2 against two of the better players in the lobby.
Swear I won't forget this. Why do I regret this? In my mind, reckless.
You know, we can always rely on Cast3 and Vortexia to be like the mid-game mini-boss to FNCS. I think literally 8 out of 8 games now we are watching them fight someone new. Everyone is getting the Vortexery experience. I believe that Reese was saying on the desk. Like, I think every single time, and it's on all sides of the board. It's so interesting to see how each duo kind of reacts to it. Pick and Anas also know about all the control they have on this side of the map. They can really force this fight and understand that there's no one to be in their way when they go back to zone.
Yeah, it's weird, right? Those guys seem to be so erratic in their play style. I've met Vortexia in person. He was far from erratic. He's very, just a very cool guy. Quiet, you know, just sort of kept to himself. But in the lobby, in the game, he gets busy. So, you know, players really just sort of get into their element once they head inside, can really express themselves.
Seeing the perspective of first all the way down to 5th right now. And on that fight as well, Pink and Anas claim back the title. The crown's going to be shared this game, I believe, by these two teams. Because Tusa and Future are about to get through a fight of their own. I'm trying to make it out myself. Future down 2, it's gonna be huge. First place gone to Kinzel and Desafio. So after that whole mosh pit, the entire top side of the board changes.
Oh, so messy. Oh my goodness. You know, that's one of the real rough engagements to watch. It's exciting, right? Lots of action going on, but can't really see too many winners coming out of that. Kings with the Sixers, of course, will claim that trophy. Yikes. A lot in terms of how this lobby will play out later on, being determined there. Hen and Queasy just tinkering along the line of being above. They're going to need to do a bit more damage. They know those teams will eventually have to move, and so they'll probably look to try and hold them out as they make their way to zone.
The bad sniper and DKS should be best case scenario. Some of these end game interrupting teams, like Tusa's, aren't going to be in the equation when it comes to their high ground type of gameplay. They're control-centered but peaceful retake on height and mid-ground. They should be allowed to do that a lot more often.
See here, they're in a 2v1 against Mr. Savage, and they were actually the ones that took down Benji, so they knew Savage was alone as a solo, but you saw how slow they played that fight, right? Because if you're in a 2v1 against Mr. Savage, even though you have the numbers advantage, it is Mr. Savage. You don't want to give him an inch. Even that half a second that Bad Sniper had to 1v1 him, you saw how much it took of his HP just to tank that, and DKS quickly had to come to the rescue. So Benji and Savage will go down, but DKS and Bad Sniper not at tilted, but just outside of tilted, getting the best of them.
That's what I wanted to mention, right? The tilted towers off spawn beef goes straight to the grass a little bit off the POI, and then the Chonker Speedway conundrum as well ends up being finished a little bit away from that POI as well. A lot of these teams, it feels like on day 2, are identifying the patterns on how their opponents move, tracking them, hunting them down, and then taking them out after they have loot, after they have a little bit of a sense of how the game is going. So you're seeing those day 2 adjustments really roll by, at least side by side on these POIs. Now it's a completely new equation for Lincoln Default, a team they haven't really dealt with on either day. Rifle and Marion rolling in right beside them. Everyone's just kind of chilling inside the metal boxes down below. Usually all these streams are burnt down. I'm wondering exactly what's going on here. Someone's storm surge plans changed while rolling in for the second day.
Yeah, we often like to see teams get rid of these trees just to give themselves more vision, better lines of sight to hit some of these shots. Vino and Jodo, they look like they're in a bit of a pickle. You can see the armored walls coming out to try to add a bit of extra protection, but that's not going to be enough. Joe will be knocked. Vino now with his back against the wall and not much HP. He's going to chug splashes. That's going to be a lot of quick HP that he can add to his tally, but ultimately he ain't got much time to work with regardless, so he will also go down. And there was different teams that took down different players, right? Like you said, these teams will sit in zone and hold you, stop you from coming in. So that will be the end of their run in this game.
I'm liking these very interesting transfers of power. I feel like, I don't know, I have this headcanon in my head. Every time a team eliminates another one, they gain a little bit of, like, I don't know, the way they play. I feel like every time I see anyone take out Pink, Anas, or Aqua, they end up having a little bit more setup for height, or have that as a part of their personality in the game. Hen and Queasy are the ones that find Aqua. I'm not exactly sure where Noah Riley is, but that seems like a lot of loot for just one body. Might be both teammates. We'll see in just a second. Maybe Noah Riley is up.
Are you predicting a high ground masterclass then in this game from Hen and Queasy? Is that the shining ball?
I think so. If Aqua's not there, if there isn't like a, you know, mysterious beat people aren't used to in the lobby, because he did try to take high ground in that first game, and Hen and Queasy have a refresh at this point, with hopefully a rotation that goes well, I feel like they finally gonna have a sense of control. If they're coming in the same way Aqua is, in terms of attacking the zone, this should be one of the best spots to take high ground whenever that's possible.
Yeah, speaking of spots, these guys are in 4th place on the leaderboard. They won last game, Janice and Vortex. And if you watched yesterday's broadcast, sorry, I know I'm going to sound like I'm repeating myself here, but these guys really on the type of beat of, hey, we're going to do well in game 1, we're going to disappear for about 3-4 games, you guys won't see us, then we're going to come back in like game 5 or 6, win or just have a really big pop-off, and be super high understanding.
One game wonder, Janice and Vortex, at least on the super pop-off.
The funny thing is though, I feel like there's this narrative, right, that, you know, maybe they aren't able to gain their momentum. I actually do think they're a very consistent team, I should say, right? I think one of the biggest problems they have is that they don't do a good enough job of mitigating the risk of some of these later zones, right? And so when they don't necessarily get favorable zones, they can struggle, right? They don't necessarily have massive adjustments in their game plan. They just get a bit unlucky with the zone sometimes and can't deal with that.
Adapting is literally, I feel like, more than 70% of these games. So if they are acing that 30% and doing it very well to where it can represent a majority of their points, a cool game plan and maybe in the top 5. They'll have to break that stride to maybe get towards that first place spot. We'll see some of the teams below on Surge going for moves, but you talked about narrative, Levin. The narrative of this game has really changed. We're talking about Hen Queasy with the comeback with some of these top teams down. Toos, Butrick, Pink, Anas, and Aqua as well. Not going to be one of the top teams, or the teams that likes being on top in terms of high ground. 3 high ground teams and 2 teams high on the leaderboard are not alive for the moment, and I see Hen and Queasy next to Trulix and Chico higher than anyone else in terms of bases. We're gonna have a very different game right now. Kids on the Siptos alive as well and really thriving from fight to fight. They're the ones that gotta survive that entire Benji entanglement as well. This will be a very different type of game, and already we can see the flare is a little bit fun to watch from Queasy and Hen. They're moving in with the swings. They're looking pretty spry as they do so. The front side of the zone with the potential now to build that base up towards the skies for height. They have everything set up. We talked about the other high ground base, Trulix Chico. Hen actually took down Chico while moving here. This man nonchalantly takes out the only opponents that were in position to get the height, and they're bullying an armored wall. Is there enough time to get this down before that resurrection comes through? Absolutely. The pressure's there. That's insane.
They're going to keep it going as well. That's nice. Hen, an absolute powerhouse. He does it like nobody else at times when he goes berserk mode. And so we'll see whether this really is going to be their game to claim high ground with some of their opposition not there to stop them.
Yeah, that top floor, the penthouse suite, it is empty. Thomas HD Tayson, you'll notice they're only looking up right now. They kind of have the scope of what's going down around them. Thomas is really focused on that base above, and now maybe on the people around them, maybe seeing who's not editing, looking for pads. They split it up. Tayson's gonna be looking for the option to move out, but they're on the front side of zone. Janus Vortex, you talked about the adaptation. They're not gonna be able to flow smooth like water this time. They got iced up, cooled down, and Vortex is gone.
You've seen Janus have some crazy clutches, right? In the week where they qualified for the FNCS, Janus had a game like this from this point onwards as a solo, and he went absolutely huge. And so we'll see if he can do it again.
We always know that Scram and Rescard are going to be some of the duels that get picked apart at the very start. Janus not going to find a shot. It should be very important to land one soon, though. 158 below. That zone will start to strike at him from the skies. He finds one solo he can kind of bully, and he's really rattling it away. It's a duo, actually. He's making it look like it's a solo with the way he isolates these fights. Meanwhile, we look over at height. Hen and Queasy. In fact, the first place for the moment, it looks like, how has this happened? How have they taken over the board? They're looking to maybe have a name in this game, but look, it's Alex and Andy. The people you never expect to take height, but they do, and they make it very difficult to retake. They invest so much to keep things alive. They're up. DKS and Bass Sniper tried to hold on to that high ground as well. They got denied. Who will reign supreme? It's Thomas HD and Tayson look to take height as well. They're going for the full retake. Janus on the right side is also trying to clutch. He finds a little bit of damage, but Thomas HD and Tayson, they have the clouds under their control.
They went into the back of the zone. It looked like maybe they were tanking a bit too much HP. It wasn't going to be worth it. At the moment, it seems like it is, because they have control of high ground, and this is where they want to be. This is where they will feel utmost comfort. And it's from this point onwards that they can really determine how these standings look.
Janus still has second place under wraps for the moment. This man's basically using Shadow Clone, moves all around. It seems like I'm watching 2 players playing at the same time, building and still shooting at the same time, having pressures on both ends, but it's too much. Requires a lot of chakra to maintain. He goes down. Clown and Goals now. He'll start to move in. Second place, they take it over from Janus. What it looks like it's just a little bit of chaos on all sides. They have the mats, it's just wood, totally reasonable deal on the same layer around them. This is going to be really scary for height. So many duels alive, a lot of pressure to maintain.
And you can see Hen and Queasy, they keep looking up. You know that's exactly what they want to do, but the material count is dwindling. But you can say the exact same thing for Thomas and Tayson. They haven't got much to work with. And Tayson actually has got to be careful as he almost drops down to his demise. The armored wall for a bit of protection, but he knows that this team right below him is a hindrance, is a hassle. But really, it's a deal now. From out of nowhere, and they have actually been able to grab out from Thomas and Tayson. Tayson looking for the chop, but is it going to be enough? Hen, is it going to be there? Reason is going to do a good job to sniff him out and send him down, and so the deal and Reason have stolen height, and they might steal this from Thomas as well. He doesn't have much to say. He has no materials. Will try to slide out of dodge, but can't get out of the way. The deal and Reason bulldoze the high ground team.
It looked free, but that team before Thomas and Tayson absolutely got trapped and scammed. Now Refsguard down with Scram on the low ground. Going to be looking for crazy shots, and they're landing so much in a lot. Scram with the moves, it's not going to be possible for him to stay alive. Refsguard now will try to make as much as possible from this situation. One pillar in the way of him, and a big shot from Clown. He actually backs up, and now Refsguard might go down playing the placement. Clown not out yet. Refsguard's trying to just do something from the spot. That shot and railing, but it's not going to be possible for him to stay alive. Now everyone's lost inside the soft towards low ground. Meanwhile, up high, because the deal and Reason, they look just so free and fly.
Because on Reason, we always know that they're going to be good for one game, yin and yang. They are so in sync. And here above everyone, it looks like their game to lose.
This is going to be a nice little slow burn towards the end. Lifeline Mariah, they have very good trap setting potential. Hit hard when they do find the angles. Reason of the deal, though, we know they're game finishers. In a 2v2, this might be one of the strongest duels you can see, but look at Rifle Mariah jumping around. Doesn't matter. Reason of the deal, they close it out. That is the game 8 VR.
Once you open up for a moment and give them an inch, they take a mile. You never want to leave yourself exposed against the deal and Reason. Absolute legends coming through, and they do a spectacular job to get the victory royale. What a game for these boys.
I feel like that retake is a lot more impressive than the way they just finished out that game. Very default, very slow. I like the fact that they have the temperament to slow down and look for the shots instead of chasing them through. That's what they're historically known for. Just a nice game 8 overall, and now they're really high on those boards.
Yeah, that was real nice from those guys. A real big game in terms of the standings. They did really well early on yesterday, and now finally coming through today as well. Zeke, Boot, Reese, break that down for us.
Don't you worry, 11, that's what we're here for, and my goodness, the only thing cooler than going from 27th to now getting a victory royale, we're just gonna rocket them up those standings into his 11th birthday today. You're welcome, 11. I got you, bro. My goodness. There you go. There you go. Wow. So coming in from 27th. So this is like what I kind of talked about at the very beginning of the show, right? With the prize winning the placement. To go from 27th and ending that game in 17th, right? Now we're starting to say, okay, we can start striking at top 10. And with every step, Boop, they can continue to rise up the standings.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many teams going for high ground this game with Tayson, Thomas AC, Queasy, and Hen. It was a bunch of these big boy players over on high ground trying to crank it out. But, you know, I was talking with Vidil and Reason today on Twitter, and they said we didn't get a single zone. And this time, the first east side zone, I told them, you better win it, and they did. So they delivered on the promise, thank God.
It's really good. It's interesting is also, it's like, this is the first game they've actually played as a duo in my eyes that I've seen, you know? When you look back through a lot of the performances through the qualifiers, through, you know, basic qualifiers through semis, but through all they've been played in the cash cups and everything, these guys are just kind of play solo and endgame, it seems like. They've not got, I mentioned yesterday, they were kind of the opposite of Cammy and Teak. They don't have like a full tarp they work through. It's just messy. They just hit their shots. They're just chaos left, right, and center. This is one of the only games we've seen them in the finals together as a duo, and they are fragging, and they now have the opportunity to take high ground. So if they stay this way, managing to keep together as a duo, shadow each other, play together, man, this is scary for the rest of the games.
Absolutely insane, man. I mean, once again, I don't know why everyone is deciding high ground we all wanted, but I mean, high profile duos are getting pushed out of high ground, right? Things like Nas and Pink, who we thought, and we have only almost exclusively seen in the high ground, right? And now these other duos are kind of making their way through and saying, look, we're down to fight for the high ground right here, right now. Pablo and Swag as well. My goodness, boys, y'all showing up huge. I mean, again, there's just so many of these, I want to say like small tech that's happening across the games, right, Boop?
Yeah. And you saw that Pablo and Swag, why we showed them taking that card there, because they took picking a nice mobility. And that meant that they were late to rotate with Texan and Castry catching them off guard in zone. And that caused them to rotate very slowly and late. And you saw them, they got caught out, got lacking. And that small little issue of Swag and Pablo taking their car ended up in this, down in 29th place. You know, just those small things in spawn fights can just have massive butterfly effects. And it is scary because, you know, all these other guys are coming back up towards the leaderboard. And, you know, now you're down.
Yeah, and also you got to think the other people who are impacted by that are Thomas and Payson, right? Thomas and Payson coming out of that drop spot, having all of this mess around them, capitalized on that, actually did well on Fortnite for once, and they were on height. Obviously, they weren't able to capitalize on the victory royale aspect of that, but they did manage to have a good game because of it.
That's right, I love it. Reeds, let's take a look at the standings together, okay? I want to see how this is all yeah, it's me and you, of course, Boop. Sorry, you know, he's here. Once again, Rolls and Clown have taken over that spot, so we kind of saw them for like the briefest moment, Reese. We saw one of them go down, and the other was just sitting there. They were out of materials, and they had to make these plays in the low ground, but it's kind of fine, Reese, right? Like, as long as you hit placement, you don't even need eliminations, really. You're just trying to hold on.
Well, you say that, but they have the most eliminations, right?
True.
They have the most eliminations so far, and 3 of the games that they've played, they've gone over 7 or more eliminations. So, like, they are dragging out like a low ground team should, right? Historically in trios, when you see teams on the low ground, they're able to create such a good tarp and capitalize on the players who have low HP, low materials, pick up tons of elimination points because of that. And we've not seen that too much in duos, but now with Girls and Clown, they are easily able to do that.
Yeah, and I want to mention Hen and Queasy here real quick. Yesterday, Queasy, he said he was very, very unlucky. I even spoke to Jerky, who won FNCS with Queasy last season. And he said, yesterday it reminded me exactly of when we won FNCS. A lot of bad luck, and Queasy today is feeling really confident because if everything went wrong yesterday and they got 5th, now come into day number 2, and something goes right for once. They got zone for once. That is so scary. And I think we're about to get a Hen and Queasy show today.
It should be in there, my prediction, let's be real. So I'm hoping for it. We'll see their ex-teammate Trulex, who has been consistently in the top 10 throughout the course of a couple of days, move over to that next page. And Blex and X-Squeeze, typically a player who is a day 2 team, doing the complete opposite of that so far. A team who's now actually doing significantly worse in the second day, starting to drop down from 6 now into 11. So they're starting to go down the leaderboards a little bit.
Yeah, and Cammy and Teague, they're in 12th place as well. It pains me to see them struggling in this final. Not really sure what's going on with them. Maybe, just not having as much preparation as they should.
Could even be nerves, right, dude? Like, today is a much, way more difficult, in the competition, right? Yesterday, you kind of had this game, it was day to be like, okay, well, let's kind of set up for day number 2, but if you're not coming in confident, your duo is going to struggle, right?
Yeah.
And especially with things like Surge, it's like, if you're already struggling and you're like, wait, we don't have a Storm Surge plan, it's not gone our way, you're just not going to have a great game. So we just need these players to focus up. Listen, you guys have made it to the finals, okay? You're the very best of the best. Let's just keep our heads down, let's focus up. We got this, all right? We're going into our next game here in the FNCS. This is Europe, and we got Shy Wagers, we got 11-2K. They're standing by. Let's go say hello.
Guys, I'd like to formally let everyone know, after this event, I will no longer be casting because Clown and Grows have proved that even if you don't have the top experience, if you put in the work, you can do well. So, with that being said, I'm going to be looking for a duo. Hit me up if you think you're good enough to play in the FNCS finals. I'm down. I'm ready to grind next season. We go.
Okay, Lyman, let's do it. I might just join you on that journey. We'll have to play on a region in between you and NA. Maybe I don't even understand how that would work. But regardless, they still have to put in the work because we still have a few more games to go. That being said, every single one of these 11 is getting kind of crazy. It's either one where the top are driving or they're out before the game even starts.
Yeah, it's one of these games and days where, honestly, you really go into every game with whole new expectations in terms of how will things play out, how do the dynamics between the different POIs work out. We've seen a lot of fights happen that we expect to happen in POIs, maybe happening across the map in different areas as well, right? Really fun and exciting stuff in the FNCS finals.
Yeah, and Blue brings up that butterfly effect that happened off spawn for just a vehicle, right? That could happen from game to game as well, and then just go across your entire 2 days. So we'll see people trying to bring it back. I feel like Kepi and Melody overall as well on Shifty Shafts dictate who gets into that end game. We saw the damage ref scored and scrammed it. If they weren't there, 11, might have been a very different game. Genesis Clutch could have gone completely differently. It's just these little decisions that just change the destiny of the FNCS.
Yeah, and trying to now path that out and interweave that into how you actually think about the analysis is very crazy, but that's what Fortnite is, and we have much more of it right now.
Game 9, a little bit of a halfway point for the second day, and we're rocking straight towards the drop. Lucas Essen already landed. They'll be up against Clown and Grolls. Grolls already taken a little bit of damage. They've spread apart exactly where they are, so we already see the adjustments. It might just be that glide. And I understand this might be a dope way to play the game, just try your best every single game and see what you can do in terms of eliminations low ground. That's what we're seeing from Grolls and Clown over and over again, box to box. But if you can only play half the games on the day, I'm not sure if it works out really well.
Yeah, maybe they heard me and they decided, look, it's not that easy. We have to really work as well. It's not as simple as just jumping in and thinking you can be first in the leaderboard. Seti going down in the feed, Joe also going down. It's getting crazy at Sleepy. As we watch our first day team, Grolls and Clowns. This fight moving a bit slower paced than what we've seen in the previous 2 games. Pukano trying to change that, picking up the pace a bit. And Grolls has got to be careful because he doesn't have materials. All he has pistol with a couple of shots left.
Pass to just land every single one in a double spray. He's not going to find anything from both players. I don't know, Zestiny's going to jump all the way towards the top and maybe try to control things, but they should be a little bit lower on mats overall just because they're expending so much to travel around this building, trying to get that control. They are the ones farming more, though, it seems like. Found trying to find a flank from the left side. Jump shot not going to land. Girls then being beside him. I think everyone's just confused. We're really looking for what, a perspective of POV or no? Just get all the swaggy inside that truck. It'll be tough for them to land shots back because he's not actually peering out the window, but he decides to just get a new angle with this. This is so cool. There's no way they can actually rail too many shots into that truck because it takes a lot to actually make it explode. He's pushing even more forward for it, actually making so much room for Zesty to find the last chest, and then they get out? I don't know what type of dynamic call this is. This truck is moving so slow. The most awkward, and it looked cool at first, but not as cool disengaged. I like it though. What a creative way to kind of attack a POI.
Yeah, that's a creative disengage. It's weird because when he initially just sort of popped out of it to take some shots, I was a bit confused. I was like, bro, I'm assuming again they were trying to get out. Bro, you're just using it to play with the angles. I'd like to think that, but they eventually do leave. And so we'll see how this game plays out in terms of roles and Crown. What they have to do in terms of damage and surge moving forward deeper into the game. As we said, every small engagement, every small interaction has its implications. You might just be watching one of those. Well, Texia and Carceria team we've been following quite a bit. And I'd love to be able to say it's because of their endgame prowess, but it's because of their mid-game madness. They really have just been involved in so many of these fights mid-game, and they just haven't had a lot of them go in their favor just yet.
Who's the next target? Who's going to be rolling in? That's the question. They kind of affected Pink and Anas's game, and that affected everyone's because with them at high ground, it would have been very, very different. We'll start that fly and glide though. Kind of taking over that Pink Anas mountain. And looking for that surge before, you know, Kings of the lobby do themselves.
Back over towards Sleepy where Vino doesn't have Joe. And I don't think Chapix has Seti by his side, just because I did see Seti go down in the feed a bit earlier. Of course, there's always a potential for the reboot. I don't think that's just happened yet.
I'm inspired by thirst. I'm inspired by worth. I desire your worth.
Vino's going for it
while I work.
Yeah, and Vino's got to be careful because he knows he can be hurt. And Chapix is just sort of sitting there. When Chapix allowed him to get him, I think that would probably be a mistake in this case. He wants to keep this at 1v1. It's probably for his best. But Vino will just keep crying away. And at a certain point, I think he might be successful. I think he wants to stick it. No, he won't. He will back off.
This is like the weirdest turn-based battle simulator I've ever seen. You know what? On one side is Vino, almost out of like moves to use, out of stamina. Chapix at the top, just like using the same move over and over again. Complete impasse. I don't know what to make of this.
It's funny because even at like a more basic level, like we've all been in these sort of scenarios in Fortnite, right? You're trying to reboot your mate, but the guy you're fighting just won't let you, and you're like, bro, just fight me or let me like pick one. Don't and stop me from rebooting if you're not gonna fight me. Like, yeah, I'm sure Vino expressing my frustration as well. PKR taking down Kiko.
Okay.
That's a fight we saw today. Mariah. So it seems like these guys wanted to get involved in the madness that is Chunka's speedway. It didn't quite work out for them, so I don't expect to see them continue to push that in latter games.
I'm not expecting to see Benji and Savage in another situation where they kind of lack overall control, but it's going to be against Bad Sniper and DKS who have delayed this engagement. I think this is the smartest thing they've done, day one versus day two. Some of the things they were doing on day one is either taking the engagement instantly, in which case they were basically losing every single time, or just not taking it at all and playing split the entire game. They have changed things now. This is the second game where I feel like I'm seeing them side by side, waiting, getting a loot first, and then attacking Benji and Savage.
It's interesting. It looks like Benji and Savage have been the ones to push towards the south side until it. Maybe they want a bit of revenge, right? It was last game that DKS and Batnapper took them out. It wasn't in tilted, but just on the outside. And maybe that impulsiveness will pay off, or maybe it will be what sends them back to the lobby again, because you know there's another team sort of lurking in this general area. It's not going to be a clear-cut 2v2, which most people probably would expect Benji and Savage to win under normal circumstances. But in any case, this is far from normal circumstances, right? The pressure is on. Not many more games left to determine your fate, and T-Chips and Arskill, a duo who many of us had big hope for in these games. They've not quite been able to piece it together, landing at 7 outpost 2. Swag and Pablo have maybe been the duo that have had success from this side of the map. But it's in this game where they have an opportunity to turn the tide. Swag is fending for himself, he's low on shields, and eventually he'll run out of builds as well. And when he does, that's what will happen. Arskill will deliver the finishing blows.
I feel like that's the only way you can really stop the Flames boys, right? This is one of the duos that just stay alive inside the end game as teammates. And if you have that type of quality that happens all the way, you know, you just get to stay and have as much placement as possible. That's what's really been well for them. T-Chips actually laying a trap down. They had 3 edits on, like, I think 2 different walls there. And then Swag taken apart as an individual. And man, they're going to be frustrated off of that one. You can see the emotion right after the elimination there. It's tough because that's the only way you can really break them down. You have to try to lay this trap and take them off early.
And they've done such a great job of it beforehand, but to be honest, there's 12 games. You can't be perfect for all 12, right? And I think that will be sort of the message there. I know their coach, Mick, will be watching, and so maybe he'll be able to pass the message on to them to keep their cool. They've done so well up to this point. They shouldn't allow that to derail them.
Talking about not being perfect, Rolls found same exact type of story. Yes, they're a lot of the times inside the top 5, but their games are just seesaws over and over again. I mentioned this analogy a little bit yesterday, but that was more for, you know, people's surge plans overall. For the placements we see for this team, see the top 5 or double digits way back in the way, 47th or 5th, 47th or 5th, Levin. That's been their last 4 when it comes to Grolls and Clown. And, you know, they've kind of broken that pattern, it seems like, in this game overall when I'm looking in. So far, you know, not going down at the start of the game.
Every day is a work day. I fell in love with the wordplay.
You call it inconsistency?
Consistent inconsistency?
That's what I was getting at, right? I don't know if I can call it inconsistency just because they consistently do that.
You want me to say it, don't you? They're walking right now. They're basically a walking paradox for the moment, right? Mobile, moving around in ways that shouldn't be possible. Back and forth. And somehow they're in first. The actual embodiment of that statement.
When they write the sacred book of Shire Asia, I can't wait for the verse about walking paradoxes. Wow, beautiful.
It's close. It's a close. Toos, Utrick, one of the most challenging players to fight. One of the most challenging duos to cast over without messing up their names. They'll be rolling through. Just too slow. He's going to try to find Putrick, get him back up. Janice and Vortex. Also kind of not in the best spot. I don't know how they approach this game. You've mentioned them a little bit and talked a little bit about, you know, how they roll when it comes to mid and end game, but it just seems like they're struggling 24/7.
I think the big thing with these guys is just being able to put themselves in better positions deeper into the games. I don't really worry about them. I think they have a very consistent early to mid game, which has just made them one of the better teams in this lobby. Two's trying to get a reading like Greasy, and will be stopped in his tracks by none other than Vidil. But on Vortex and Janice, I genuinely think these guys have gone under the radar. It's the reason why yesterday I said that they are a dark horse team. And I actually think they are one of the more complete teams. Right? We've seen them win on height. We've seen them win on low. They're comfortable in both. Vortex have nothing but positive things to say about this young lad. Honestly, so talented, right? I don't know how Germany keeps producing all of these like crazy, berserk, firepower, talented. It's just crazy. They have way too many. Right? Someone needs to check out what's in the water in Germany. I don't know.
Honestly, just rolling in and making sure everything's good right now. Benji and Savage are in a little bit of trouble. It's an all-in on both sides, and they are going to go down again. That's, I believe, to Coop and Fraction, who are always somehow in the business and going down, but it seems like once out of every 5 games, they affect the boards in a major way.
Right? If they're going to go down, they're going to drag someone down with them, and this time, unfortunately, it's Benji and Savage. Kenny and Teeth almost being dragged down as well themselves. They've got to be careful. These guys, before you start to rise up in the standings, if they find a bit of consistency. Another example of a team where, when you're analysing them, you don't really have many negatives to say.
Not at all right now. Zeston's going to be in position to be low on surge overall. 12 teams need to go down before it stops. Them and Hookah usually have everything locked down and fine off of spawn because they have 2 full eliminated bodies worth of damage, but they disengage this time, so their entire story changes. 50 below, we see Vino and Joe actually flying away. They'll get rattled on a little bit, have to sacrifice a launch pad for being in this position. That's because they've been stumbling their way through mid-game. Nothing's really been organized. They're going to lose very important ingredients for their end-game rotations. Zeston and Hookah will try to use it as well, but you know, once they hit this pad, Joe and Vino, along with the rest of the lobby, will be looking to beam them up. There's first place right now, Hennet and Queasy. Looks like they might have got a few picks. Oh, we saw Rolls and Clown moving around. And Zeston is going to be on their walls, desperate, but this might just be a free elimination overall. For Queasy just lands that one shot. I think they understand exactly what's going on. They have 5 seconds actually to get this shot, and they don't, and someone else picks them up.
And now,
Oh, no. That right there is going to be possibly a tough situation for Hennet Queasy as well. I was slightly surprised in that instance and moment because I felt like Zeston might have attracted 3 different duos' attentions to Queasy and Hent's spot. I just saw a triple space start to happen and wood walls limited, so that's why I was surprised.
well, hopefully they won't have to worry about that as the zone starts to move and they will have to follow. There is always a potential to be held when you start to move in. You can see Teak and Cammy looking to force one duo away just so they can use their pad. I like that. Pressuring them into rotating for you as they follow in, but they got to make sure they keep their distance. They're going to land here on the brick, which is nice. They can refarm it, get the material count up because they are struggling right now. Some would call this shambles. They need to get their map count up if they want to have any chance of really going deep in this game.
And the tough spot about this is that it's not the Sanctuary, it's not the Joneses where you have a little bit more brick available. In terms of Cover Cavern, on all these mountains, everything is so far apart when it comes to farming. There are no bases you can really hide under. It's literally just natural mountains. Plus, some of these trees are just the big ones where if you chop them a little bit, that log falls down and it's impossible to farm without chasing after it. You can't really do that in an FNCS lobby.
You can see Ryzen and Phoenix on the right of your screen. This was a team that many people said, look, day 2 didn't have the greatest of success day 1. Are they going to start getting a bit more aggressive day 2? Considering they're dealing with Surge and they're trying to out-heal it, then the question, or the answer, sorry, probably is no. But when will that penny drop? When will they realize that they really do have to try to take the game by the scruff of their neck if they want to start rising the standings, which they are very capable of doing as they've shown throughout the qualifiers.
I think every team's kind of in that position just for this lobby, specifically for the zone. No one really in the next safe spot. Just 2 duos who eerily crept their way in, with everyone now on rotational duty. I'm not sure exactly what happened to Kemi's box there either. Really deleted as he starts to build it. It's a big tree that falls in his way. They're already down bad on mats. Not have that extra box, that's going to hurt that duo a lot on the top side of your screen. We're going towards that cavern as well, so Tayson and Thomas will just stay inside for the moment. Make sure everything looks hunky-dory before moving out. I think Cammy and Teak might have missed their window though here, Levin. Everyone was moving. They were too. That log in the way makes them slow down a bit, and now they're not safe to move. It'll cost them mats.
The problem is that there's nowhere really to refarm in the zone right now, so if they want to get themselves themselves back in this game, they're going to have to do what they did here, right? Get an elimination of some sort, but trying to set that up will be very, very difficult. See what was going on in the zone. The reason why they were so late to rotate out so is Marine was the thorn in their side, and so he has inadvertently made their game very, very difficult. They won't just have to climb the covert mountains, they have to climb the mountain in the standings as well, because they've still got a ways to go. Tayson gone from looking like he was in a pretty comfortable position next to Thomas to just 33 HP.
Have a little bit of friction inside this cavern right now, but it's going to be fine overall. They have everything locked down for the moment. I'm just concerned on their departure flight when they actually have to leave. How do the skies look? Because right now it just seems absolutely stormy. And speaking of which, him and Kiriachi right now, they actually picked up a few eliminations of the feed themselves. They're looking good to be, you know, base up right now inside somewhere in the circle and zone. Kaizen finds a few, Zell as well. He's having a few eliminations. Cammy finally down to Kaizen actually, and Red and Scram actually gets split apart. They're already bad on Surge. Look at the bottom left of your screen right now. They went through a few shields, almost 2 inventory slots worth of. And they're both still getting sprayed. Scram loses his entire blue bar, trying to protect Ref's guard as he heals. And now they'll invest even more materials in their spot to try to base up. But as I pay attention to that mini-map, they actually do get a little bit of luck on their side, a little bit of a chance to breathe. Meanwhile, no reason of a deal. They're getting just dropped inside their box. 76 below, they're bad on Surge, but Reason has an angle to just completely start to spray. Now he's slightly above, but he's lost his teammates and he's stuck in the river in the depths, swimming with the fishes.
You know they're down for Surge just to get in, right? But if getting in doesn't work out, there's not many options for you to actually get out. And on that journey, the deal will be taken down. Reason now left as a solo as a result of it. Yeah, he is just barely above now, but really being able to pull off the same level of clutch as all of his German compatriots in Janice from last game. We've seen Reason do some crazy clutches in the past in different modes and different FNCS competitions. And maybe this might be our classic Reason clutch moments, but he's got a way to go. Scram and Restar have their ways to go, but they cover that distance relatively quickly with the gauntlets. And now they can set themselves up to maybe try to find a refresh of some sort.
Has to be an all-in for them. No bluffs in this situation. They can't really go toe-to-toe with a team over and over. Have no hard maps whatsoever, only wood. That means as they move, they will be very vulnerable to shots on all walls. Meanwhile, look at the state of the game. Noah Riley active right now, taking out Wafflar. A man who likes to move around freely, somewhere towards mid and other times just jetting towards height. Looks like they might have some control. Scram, no caught sleeping on the wall. Does not actually have protection. No, it's Prianitz in the way. They aren't letting him build. He goes for a few shots right back, but it's Floki and Clement that jumps in the box and take him down.
That's the complete opposite from what they needed. Restar really left the solo clutch, and we're heading to another angle in Shire where we've got lovely full of duos, but so many of these top duos will be forced to play as solos. And if you can say the duos Clown and Grove will look to do and have done so well, this could be a game where they amass so many points and just really start to gain the lead, which is something that nobody's really been able to do in the FNCS so far. And if it is the most inexperienced players, it feels like, in the lobby that are able to gain that lead, it really will be a crazy story.
That feels like all the kings are butting heads. Meanwhile, the newcomers to the castle start to fly and swing on their own terms. Clown and Groves will go a little bit more low groundy. A few miscedits on the right side. I'm paying attention to them right now because they're basically in first. They kind of dictate who gets to have the lead for the moment. Vortex and Casper, you know, if you pay attention to the left side of your screen, do have a little bit of control of the entire lobby. They're up high on this mountain as Blueback flies by them as well. Bestguard starts to swing. Clown is kind of attacks with the same builds. He's inside the zone, actually making sure he is building the pathway for Groves to follow. That being said, Groves on the right side, barely even there. Groves not ahead of him. They start to be in the same box. Shouldn't even allow for them to be here in this position, not taking much damage. It's a hard food play. A nice grab for the floors of the duo above, but he's not going to find much for the moment right now. They're going to completely break through into that target. This is crazy. They don't have that many maps, so they have to basically go for this big push and the refresh. One player skips from the left side. There's one isolated towards the right. Clown now moving backwards of his builds. We'll tune in with them in just a little bit of a second. That's Huddy. He's fighting for the moment.
Yeah, to commit so much into that, right? And so moving forward in this game, the all-in play will have to come out at some point. The Carson protection just sort of walks their way up and high. There hasn't really been anybody to really contest them up until now. And the Carson will do a good job of getting control. But for how much longer can they hold it? They've got no web shooters, they've got a decent amount of builds, but just below them is Queasy and Hen. We know how cerebral they are. And there, Grols doesn't have Clown anymore. And so just as a solo, what can he do here as a zone? Continues to just push along this ravine. Can he hit one of these shots? Get something to keep him in the game. The 3 builds that he has aren't going to be worth much. And he knows that. And so the med missile come out, try to heal up, at least give himself a HP advantage, but it's not looking too good for him.
Hen and Queasy still alive. Queasy taking a lot of damage, though. Hen's going straight for the high ground by himself. Big shot on the T-chips. That'll quiet him down. Grols, though, is still here, making the line that Hen and Queasy have to hit be that much further. 220-plus points, and they're still going for the clutch. Bat Sniper also alive, 3rd place overall. He hits a nasty shot on the Floki. Full refresh there. Grols is still putting pressure down on any body that he sees. This is just crazy for him. Doesn't have a hard for to hit those mats anymore. He's still alive on HP. Finally down. 249 points is what it is there, basically, to hit a 4-point differential for just Hen, as Queasy is gone. He does have high ground for the moment, but I see Thomas, I see Tayson, the diving in boxes right now. As soon as they realize that it's a solo on height, they can just completely switch frequencies and go for that higher spot on the lobby.
Yeah, they had all the heights in the world, but they are going to be on height. They are sitting down on low, but they are perfectly fine. Oh dear, Bad Sniper taking out my Hen. He's already a solo on height, but he can hack it. But for how long? Because Tayson and Thomas have taken it. It's moved up the hill, and Hen went down. McGreevy was the one to take him out. But Tayson and Thomas sitting prime in position to win it all. There's nothing anybody can do. They were the first to climb the hill, and they will be the kings of it.
That is what you like to see. One of the cavern zones, and some people that land there, that control the destiny of the POI, that win that game. Jason and Thomas are on the board. They're always good for that special one.
It's taken them a while to get there, but they finally do it, and the cavern zone as well tops it off. These guys finally starting to look like their best selves, and this is when they needed to do it. We're wrapping things up very, very shortly. They need to hold on to this position, but a brilliant game.
The thing I like the most about Jason and Thomas here, and just the entire endgame, very top-heavy in terms of who was in the elims, who was actually moving out and about and placed inside that top 10, that top 15, right? So when it comes towards those leaderboards, it'll be a pretty big switch. How far do the Game 9 winners climb, though? That is the big question. Just an amazing game overall inside the snow, inside the ice, no sand this time. So I'm wondering, is the desk freezing? Do we see some nice chill plays? Zeke, what you got for us?
Shy Wager, you know there is zero chill when Boop and I are right. That's right. Boop, we're doing it. We're rising on the coattails of Thomas HD. That's right. Tayson's here with us too. We got ourselves a win, boys. We did.
It's always good to be correct, especially when you beat beast at the same time. It's the perfect day for me.
Those even leaderboards left out because we went against Quizzy and Hen there in the last moments. I'll have you know.
It's true, and you know, once again, we're just seeing this battle for high ground, right? No one is just like happy to let it go by. We saw it change over 3 times in that last little bit of the moving zone there, starting with Castro and Vortexia, going over to Hen, then ending with Thomas HD and Tayson. Now, they did get these low eliminations, and this is actually something you talked about yesterday, Blue, was that even if they do find themselves a win, we're not going to see some crazy, like, double-digit elim, but they're still coming through, and now this means they're going to jump up from top 13 into possibly top 5.
Yeah, I mean, winning a game is good enough regardless. Like, you just want to keep on busting out those points. And there's actually an interesting statistic coming out. I saw on Twitter, like, King Analytics. Now with his victory out, Thomas HD ties Anas for the most victory out in a finals at 8. So, you know, those guys sort of going up there. You know, Denmark, you know, making Denmark proud, sorry. And, you know, it's pretty impressive so far from them.
Yeah, I think one of the interesting points about this is the fact that this is basically the exact same game we saw yesterday, but with Pink and Anas in it, right? This is one of the victory rounds that they had. They were on height at 5th zone. Flip that, because Pink and Anas went down early, it was the team that took the place to drop spot. Vortex and Castry up on high ground at that point. And it's like, you know, you see the quality of a high ground team by the way that it's executed there. Vortex and Castry weren't able to maintain that all the way through, giving openings for guys like Thomas Tayson to obviously pick up the victory now. Whereas if Pink and Anas were still in that lobby, who were first going into this, you know, that could have been a completely different shift. Yeah.
seeing like the top one team, right? Clown, they're rolling around, just managing to stay alive. I don't know how Clown and Girls are doing this, right? Even in those situations where one of them is left alive, they are still just taking every single point they can, right? And that's like a mark of a strong duo, a consistent duo. And right now, they have eyes set on first place. Yeah, right? It is these small micro advantages they're taking that could mean that they actually walk away winners.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much potential things going wrong for them. Like who can contest them? You know, they landed on a bush in one of these games, and you know, came. Like they ran away with the truck, you know, they did so well here. And this is what I love about duos, is because solo clutch potential is just so easy. Or not easy, but you know, it is just there. And you know, if you have a good and confident player, like mentality, spirits are high, you know, anything can happen. And that's what I just love about duos. It's so exciting that way.
Absolutely. Look, I want to see what the leaderboards look like though, because we've seen the fact that I may have said Pink and Nas were in first. I meant first yesterday coming into it. It's obviously growing coming into that.
Okay, I like it. Let's take a look at the standings. We'll talk through this. This is now the halfway mark, okay? Just think about this. After the next 3 games, we will decide the overall winner. And Queasy are holding on though right now. Bringing on your chin. You're saying sorry.
The Toms, they see they win it so much better, but when you look at the leaderboards, Hen and Queasy are in first place. That's oh man, let's go. I know Mom's gonna be happy about that. She's predicted them.
I mean, they're close by, Thermos and Tation. They're so close by, so don't put them out yet. You never know. You never know.
It's true, you know, man. Girls and Clown doing such a good job, though. I'm with you, you know. We just hyped them up a little bit there. A scuffed game off spawn, still managing to make the most of it. Basically, if they go down off spawn, it's a 0-point game, obviously. But even if they get off with nothing, like we said this time, they're still able to make a good game out of it. And that is something that there's barely any teams who can say that about their own gameplay.
I'm just blown away, you know, a duo coming into the first FNCS final, this stage in the competition, and they're hanging with the very best, right? And they won't let go. That's the crazy thing as well, is like, whatever happens, they're just like, no, we're gonna make sure we are as close as possible. As we flip on to the second page, here they are, Pink and Anas there with 179 points. And I mean, you know, with 3 games, anything still can happen, right? We could watch any number of these duels fall immediately. And that has been kind of like a big factor that plays into why we're seeing them in the end game. Some duels, they just do fall early, right? And then the shoot inning happens. But if it doesn't happen, man, we're going to continue to see this lead build.
Yeah, unfortunately, when you have 6 zones pulled to the west side, that gives everyone so much ammo to bother you exactly where you are, right? You know exactly that Pink and Anas are going to be on that hill near Covert Canyon. Let's all, Covert Cavern, sorry. Let's just all avoid that draw spot because we don't want to get tagged up by them, you know? And that's a big issue for them, because now we can see everyone yesterday voted you, they checked it out, they realized, hey, they're over there every single time. And you saw them this game, they were eliminated by Storm Surge. So maybe they're going to change things up again because they're a little bit predictable.
100%. And one of the things that I don't think was so predictable was the fact that DKF and Bad Sniper have been dominating so far until the towers. You know, we were talking off screen there, but we've not really seen much of Kindle Desafio in terms of like those end games. I'm just scrolling through the leaderboard to make sure I'm not waffling. Correct. Yeah, they're in 21st so far. Benji and Savage today, not really seen them too much either. And it seems like, you know, Benji and Savage obviously upset about getting contested the majority of their FNCSs, but teams now who are contesting them, like DKF and Bad Sniper, are doing well in the leaderboards.
Yeah, you gotta make the most of the situation, right?
I was just gonna say, dude, they got bodied off spawn, right? Like, it's just happening, right? Like, and it's okay, it happens, right? These are the 50-50s we talk about. Sometimes it's gonna go one way and sometimes it's gonna go another, but these are high caliber duos, right? If they know this is gonna happen, just take a step back. Just be like, look, I don't want to fight this. Like, I want to make it to end game. Let's just take a different loot path. Let's loot our drop spot and then just bail, right? Like, we're gonna see Benji and Savage come online very, very soon, right? Because they evolve over the course of a competition, and I'm excited to see. We hope so. We hope so. 57 seconds here on the timer, so we're gonna get back on over with Levin, 2K, and Shywager for the next game.
Thanks so much, Zeke. You know, I paid a little bit of attention in English class 11, right? I learned one thing, which is you can't spell duos, right? The word duos without Hen and Queasy. Would you agree with that, guys?
You know what? This became in my head and I tried to piece it together. I think that does make a lot of sense.
You gotta mirror it, right? You gotta translate and then retranslate, right? It makes sense. We're talking to each other behind the scenes. We don't know how it's happened, right? They're not the most, you know, in terms of flash patchy duo in terms of growth days, but they're here and they're in first.
I think they've just consistently been able to make it deep into games, which is something that, to be fair, you can't say the same for a lot of the other top competitors in this lobby, right? A lot of them have sort of had games where they are off a bit, and even when Queasy and Hen make it to them, even if it's like 11 or 10, they're able to pick up a couple of eliminations along the way, and it's enough to put them into first, and we'll see if they can do that once again as we head into another game of the FNCS Finals.
Double digits for the games. We're at number 10, and we have double trouble up on the board with Hen and Queasy. 235, they have a little bit of a lead, but it seems like every single time we have a battle for the top spot, it's merely just 5 or 7 points that separates those big teams.
Yeah, we're heading into Tilted Towers, which has been a point of interest over the past 2 days. And I'd like to formally apologize to DKS and Bad Sniper because, as many other people coming into Tilted Towers, I think most people thought these guys would be the biggest losers out of this POI, right? Benji and Savage have done really well out of here so far this season. Kim's and the Sixers have just been clean and efficient more times than not. And I think most people thought DKS and Bad Sniper, they don't necessarily always do well in FNCS finals, whether that be trios or other modes. Yeah. They've been the best duo out of Tilted, so props to them. Clown though, again we tune into this fight. This time though it's a bit quicker than last. Clown will hit the crucial pickaxe shots, and just in time for the rest as well.
That's just really funny. My bad. Having a knock player just close the doors behind him. Try not to get limited too much faster. Funny to watch, but now Clown's actually stuck inside the room, and oh no, he actually did get the revive at the last time. Hookah, low HP on both sides. He can land 2 big shots, but barely even has any match. The more time he gives Clown and grows, the worse it goes for him. And yeah, there's minis involved. This is going to be bad. Ammunition though, low overall. And as soon as I say that, he finds a super crate of ammo. So Clown is now back in business. They have a medkit popping as well. I was going to say for Hen and Queasy, one of the things that needs to happen is maybe Hookah's S2 going in and interrupting the game of goals and Clown. But that is not happening. They're basically getting 3 to 6 free points off spawn. They have a leg up, it seems like, on the entire competition every game because of the way this engagement is going. And if that just keeps happening, they have to grab first at some point.
Yeah. I think Hookah for a moment had the chance to come in and do it, but he missed a window of opportunity. Clown and Growth as well. They created a bit more space. They opened up the back wall, made an extra box to work with. And from that point onwards, he knew the corner was quite worth taking and bursting them up. And so he will dip out, and they will have a game that we saw from both sides that when the fight didn't completely break down and one team definitively won, it led to both teams having some issues with search deeper down, right? Hookah and Justin in particular ended up going down to Hen and Queasy, right? And so almost like they're feeding them in that sense where, you know, it benefits those guys instead of Clown, sorry. But now we tune back into Tilted where this fight is breaking out, and we'll see if Bad Snap and DKS can come out on top.
They're doing this specifically not just because they're contesting, because it's also very easy surge. I think Benji and Savage had issues with it in previous games. Bad Sniper and DKS running a gauntlet around one of the players. That's for Savage inside the box going down first. You never really see that happening. Usually maybe it's Benji that oversteps in the duo, and usually they're the ones to land that first shot and get a knock, but it's not going to be possible. Now Benji on the back foot inside a car. He's going to have that license, he's going to have that speed. He's out of there as fast as possible. DKS not too happy about it. Neither is Bad Sniper. They're rolling in, dealing a little bit of damage. Not going to be enough to really secure Benji Fishy today. He will be able to go out and maybe just play the game, come back, get the card. It's a 5-minute timer. He has a lot to work with. Meanwhile, Pink and Nas also making sure their game plan is alive for now.
Yeah, I'm super impressed. I ain't really got much to give in terms of, you know, what to say there. Like, I'm super impressed by DKS and Bad Sniper's ability. It really seems like that win that they got yesterday has just sort of been a huge sort of ego and confidence boost that is just sort of pushing them and dragging them through. They've done really well out of Tilted. Pink and Nas now in covert. Typically they, you know, sort of like to lurk just outside and around, maybe even on top of the mountain. But this time they were caught inside, but will quickly retreat to where they're a bit more comfortable, just outside the POI.
I think what Bacon and us don't want is another, brawl with Castery and Vortexia. They understand that they're on top of that mountain. It's one of the reads, one of the adjustments maybe a lot of the people in the area are making. Push this team. They might be slightly unconfident. They're just going for long-range beams. If we just, try to get as aggressive as possible on them, it might actually work out in our favor. So, Bacon and us also adjusting. They can watch their own VODs too and find new game plans. And Queasy really want to stick with these guys, these games, or at least in this game specifically, to see how they handle really being in the lead now. After that leaderboard change, now they approach this game. Because right now, it feels like they're running under the radar for every single team.